Alright guys, welcome back. So a popular question over on twitch.tv/Scottejaye87, that's me by the way, over on Twitch, come give us a follow, is about pre-patch talents and what I'm going to personally go in the pre-patch as a Feral Druid. So what I wanted to do is actually just do a few videos. I'm gonna do Druid first, and if they go down well and people think my opinion is worth listening to, then I will do all the other classes as well. But I'll do those in collaboration with people who know about their class inside out through Classic and TBC to give you the most accurate sort of information that I can. I would say when it comes to Druid, the information I'm going to give you is accurate because I've played one for 15 years on all expansions, TBC for the last couple of years on servers we don't talk about, and you know, obviously I'm no life in the beta. I've done lots of Druid. That's all we need to know. So I got a very, very good understanding of how tanks work, how healers work, how DPS works, how, you know, if you're boomy or feral, whichever way around. And using that knowledge, how we can make the most optimal spec for the pre-patch, you know, based on what abilities you haven't got yet because you're still only 60, and what talents you can reach due to only having, you know, 51 talent points rather than 61. So this video we're going to focus on feral, so that's everything feral, that's tank, DPS, a bit of a hybrid between the two, so you can use one spec to do both, and really to be fair, the tank spec you can do both. The ultimate DPS spec in the pre-patch is going to require you having another druid with you, and you're going to find out why. So before we get into it, if you do like the video and you get all the way to the end, please make sure you like, subscribe. It really does help the channel out. It's growing phenomenally. Absolutely love you guys. Hopefully going to have some more beta keys to give out soon as well over on Twitch. They won't be on YouTube, just saying. And let's get into it. So now we're going to look at Feral DPS. Now, there's one main thing that's going to dictate what spec you pick, and that is, do you have a Feral tank in the group? So if these specs are going to be purely PvE, and I'm talking PvE raiding, not really dungeons. I mean, you could do dungeons with them, obviously, but for example, this, as a Feral DPS, going the spec that I personally am going to be going, I'm going to be relying on our main tank, which our main tank is a Feral Druid anyway, to basically be doing everything with me, and that's fairly obvious why, because I'm not going to be taking Mangle. So if we just go through the talents and have a look. Now, first of all, an ordinary spec. So in TBC, you would absolutely, and I'm not talking just pre-patch, I'm talking in TBC, you'll absolutely go 5 points in ferocity. But when you've not got Mangle, there's not really much point going into it because you're not going to be using Rake. You're probably not going to be tanking very often. So for now, we'll just get the increased damage in Ferocious Bite from Feral Aggression. So now we've got 5 other points that we can get. Now, if you're really set on you will never tank, then fine. Just pick up the 5 points in Ferocity, and then, you know, it might help you out when you're in bear form or whatever for Maul and stuff, but it's not really necessary. So I would personally be going 3 into Thick Hide just for the extra armor, and 2 into Brutal Impact. I'm not bothered about the threat or the sort of stealth detection because I'm talking purely just raiding. You've got a bear in the group who's hit capped, who's going to make sure he's got Mangle up all the time. So moving down, obviously we're going to want all of these. So we're going to want Sharpened Claw for the 6%, we're going to want Feral Charge, and we're going to got 2 in Feral Swiftness, obviously just for the movement speed. Then going further down, absolutely shredding attacks we definitely need because it reduces the cost of your shred by 9, so 18 with 2 points, and that's going to be our primary ability. We're going to basically be shredding, ripping, and Ferocious Bite, nothing else. So then we're going to take 3 in Predatory Strikes, obviously, just for the extra attack power, and 2 in Primal Fury, which is going to give us a 100% chance to, when we crit, to get 2 combo points. Obviously, we need that. We're not bothered about Savage Fury because we've not got Mangle, so we don't need it. As I say, this is going to change in a minute when we look at another spec where you can sort of bear and cat in the same spec, but what you're going to lose out on is Omen of Clarity. So for now, let's just move across to the other tree real quickly. So we're going to go 5 into Furor, and now this really depends on fight lengths. So if you're having problems with Dark Runes and Mana Potions keeping your mana up for power shifting, you might want to go 3 into Shapeshifter and then the rest into Naturalist. I'm going to be going straight into there for the 10% physical damage and hoping that the bosses die relatively quick. And then obviously you're going to pick up Omen of Clarity. But as I say, 2% damage per point on Naturalist is obviously very nice. But if you're having problems keeping your mana up, you might want to get Natural Shapeshifter, even if it's like swapping 1 or 2 points in one for 1 or 2 points in the other. You know, that's entirely up to you. But moving back over to the Feral tree, so what we are going to get is we're going to get Fairy Fire, of course. And then we're going to go 1 in Nurturing Instinct. Then we're going to get 5 in Heart of the Wild, of course, for the attack power. We're going to get 3 in Survival of the Fittest for the 3% attributes. We're going to go 1 into Leader of the Pack. And then we're going to go 1 into Improved Leader of the Pack. and then finally 5 points in Predatory Instinct. So Predatory Instincts increases your damage from melee criticals by 10% and your chance to avoid area effects attacks by 15%. So that's neither here nor there. So what we're left with now is a really, really strong sort of shred. You're going to be shredding to 5 combo points, and then you're going to be ripping. Then you're going to be shredding, and if you're getting lucky during your power shifts and you're getting crits, then you might be able to weave in ferocious bites as well. So there's a lot of talents. All you're going to be able to do in this spec is DPS. Arguably, you'll still be able to tank just 5-man dungeons and stuff like that just fine. But you're getting the best of both worlds. You're going to be playing with a feral tank who's keeping Mangle up, and you're going to be shredding. So even in TBC, you really don't want to be mangling. If you've got someone who can mangle for you and keep 100% uptime or as close as possible, then obviously it's nice for you just to be able to shred. The one thing I will say here, if the tank fails to land a mangle, now you're shredding on a non-mangle target, which can be problematic, don't get me wrong. So ideally, best case scenario here is actually that don't worry about the bear. It would be great if you had another cat. So if there was 2 Feral Druids in a raid, and you can be the Druid that's not got Mangle, that would be awesome. Don't get me wrong, Mangle does very good damage. Like, it will do very good damage in the pre-patch. But still, shredding onto a Mangle target will do more. And obviously, we know how useful that extra 10% damage from Resto is, and Omen of Clarity is obviously something I don't even enjoy playing without, if I'm completely honest with you. So this, in my opinion, would be the pure maximum DPS spec, assuming that you've got somebody else bringing Mangle. So let's have a look at what you would do if you needed to bring Mangle. We'll just reset everything. So you're now going to want 5 in Ferocity. Now this depends if you're going to be... I'm going to make a spec where you can tank or DPS and you bring Mangle. I think that's probably the best way to go. So Ferocious Bite, yes, Ferocious Bite does obviously very good damage, but you're probably in the pre-patch going to be focusing more on keeping Rip up. Now the debuff limit on the boss has gone up, obviously. So you'll probably be allowed to Rip. If you're not, then of course you're going to have to take Ferocious Bite, but I don't see why you would. So we can now go down and get some tanking utility. So we can get the Threat and we can get 2 in our Thick Hide, because the first point in Thick Hide is the most valuable, by the way. You get 4% for it, but then you're going to get 3% per point after that. So the first point is always worth getting anyway. So we're going 2 in Savage Fury. Of course, we're going to get Savage Fury now because we've got Mangle. So, you know, that goes without saying. But we're also still going to pick up Shred and Attacks because it's still going to be a DPS increase for you to Mangle and then use Shred, assuming that you've got Shred and Attacks. So then we're going to move down. We're obviously going to pick up Fairy Fire. We're going to get Heart of the Wild. We're going to get 3 in Survival of the Fittest, 1 in Leader of the Pack, just 1. And then we're going to go 5 into Predatory Instincts, pick up Mangle, move across into the other tree to get 5 in Feral, and then finally get the 10% damage. So that takes us to level 60. Now we haven't got Leader of the Pack, and don't get me wrong, Leader of the Pack is very good to take, but I still would prefer to get the damage. You know, get the 10% damage over in Naturalist. You've got Mangle now, you can get a decent rotation going. You haven't got Omen of Clarity, but that's... It's nice to have Omen of Clarity, don't get me wrong, but this could actually be, for me personally, I would say this is a nice all-round build. If you want to get the most out of Feral so you can tank and you can DPS in raids, dungeons, you know, this would be a decent spec to go. It is a shame you haven't got Omen of Clarity, but, you know, you can see why this would work. But your primary finisher should be Rip. Now, if you wanted to use this as a DPS spec, it's fairly easy what you would do. You would just put the 5 points in Feral Aggression and then remove everything in the second tier. So now you've got a really solid DPS spec with Mangle. And you can still Shred because you've got the improved Shred from Shredding Attacks. You're just still lacking out on that Omen of Clarity. But this spec could work perfectly well. This means if you can't Rip, you can Ferocious Bite. If the mob's low on health, you can Ferocious Bite. You've got a lot more room for manoeuvre in this spec. So this would be my recommendation for Feral. A Feral DPS who wants Mangle. We had the first spec, which was a Feral DPS who's pure DPS and has got someone bringing Mangle for him. And really, the second spec, where we take the 5 points out of Feral Aggression and have the 2 in Thick Hide and 3 in Feral Instinct. Now, this is a spec where you can tank and you can DPS if you needed to DPS. So this is probably the all-round spec that I reckon a lot of people will probably go with. I was going to cover all Druid specs in one video, but there's quite a few variations of Resto that we're going to look at. There's a couple of variations of Balance that we're going to look at. So I think keeping these short and sweet and just focusing on the Feral Druids for this video, the Restos for the next, which I'll get these out over, well, probably the next couple of days. I'll get all the specs out. So I aim to get 2 of these out today, this and the Resto one. So if you found this useful, please make sure you like, subscribe, come check me out over on Twitch, and I'll see you on the next one. Once again, massive shout out to all you guys up there that have joined the channel as a member, so that's as a supporter or a legendary supporter. Every single one of you, really, really appreciate it. It just keeps helping the channel grow, helps keeping me sat in this chair pumping out TBC content that hopefully you want to see. Come check me out over on twitch.tv/Scottejaye87, where I stream most nights, pretty much every night while the beta's out anyway, and then I'm probably going to be just doing 4 nights a week, which is still quite a lot. But again, massive thank you guys, all of you, even the subscribers. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. Everything helps this channel keep growing from now until TBC and beyond. See you on the next one.